Focus is today's IQ. Without focus, you don't get anywhere. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you how you can have more focus so that you can make progress and then you can feel good. So the reason why we don't have focus is because we're distracted. So what is causing us to get distracted all the time? Why are we getting distracted? What's distracting us? Well, based on the research that I've done in Atomic Habits, we are being distracted mostly by technology. Technology hasn't been around that long, and we haven't adapted to it. We haven't regulated ourselves with technology. So people will often check social media 2 hours a day, perhaps, or more. So that's about 600 hours per year. So what could you do with 600 hours per year? So James Clear in his book Atomic Habits is talking about us being distracted by things that are within our control. And one way that you can get control over social media is to do something called a commitment. You have a commitment device and you make that habit hard. And the way that you make it hard is by turning off social media, like removing it from your phone entirely. If you're not open to doing that, you can always look to a partner or a friend and have them change your social media passwords once a week. And you can have full access all weekend, but not during the week. You may not like this, but hey, and actually you're not going to like it. Because if you're accustomed to being on social media and communicating and having all sorts of dialogue with friends and doing business, it's not going to work for you. But the key here is that you're being distracted and you're not being able to focus. So focus is today's IQ. How are you going to solve that? And know this. Everything that you do is being reflected back to you. There's feedbacks, right? There's a feedback loop. So you're always going to get feedback loops coming back to you, telling you what's going on. So if you're taking action and it's without focus, you're going to know it based on what's coming back to you. I always say that life isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. So if life is responding to you and things aren't working, then you're not focused. You're not focused on the right thing. You're not focused on the right actions. You're not focused on the right intentions. You don't have your mind set on what you want. And it's not clear. And if it's not clear, then it's very difficult for the world and for the universe to give you what it is that you need. So we have these feedback loops all the time. So if things are working for you, then you know you're focusing on the right thing. You know, let's say you're trying to get physically fit. And so you start running and you start managing your diet and you're looking at what you're eating and you're measuring calories and all sorts of things like that. So if you start doing things like that and you start to notice results physically in the mirror, then you know that the feedback loop is, the feedback loop is giving you what you need and it's telling you the information that is confirming I'm doing good things that are causing me to feel good and I look good and so I feel good. And so remember I told you about what Dr. Joseph Murphy said, that what we think and feel we create, and we create what we believe. So if we're thinking and feeling in certain ways, then we're going to believe that. We're going to create beliefs around that. And so we always have to remember that we're creating our lives. We're always creating our future with our thoughts, with our actions. And if we don't recognize what's going on, then we're going to get caught into these loops. And dopamine is something that's a chemical in our mind, and we actually thrive on dopamine, and it helps us get motivated, but it also has a feedback loop, and it's not infinite. Dopamine is not infinite, yet it's renewable. So it's this chemical that makes us feel good. And so when we go on social networks and we see something and somebody likes what we're posting, we post a picture of ourselves. Lately I've seen a lot of pictures of people in their stories on Facebook, and it's pictures of them and their physical body and what they look like, and they're looking for feedback. They're looking for a dopamine hit. So you get dopamine hits, but you need hit after hit after hit after hit. You just need to keep getting hits. And that's why video games have taken over movies, because children, which are up and coming teenagers and even 20-year-olds, they're playing games instead of watching. They don't want to watch anymore. They want to play games. Why? Dopamine feedback loop. So these are the kinds of things that you're up against. You're trying to feel good. Your dopamine is there to support you and keep you motivated, yet you're doing things that cause it to spike, and it's not getting you the results you want because you're not focused on what you want. Your social networks aren't probably going to give you the things that you need. It's just a social network. It's a place to communicate with other people. And sometimes people say nice things and sometimes they don't. And sometimes people are critical, and oftentimes people are critical. And so you're basically putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, and then being open to criticism. And that doesn't feel good. So if you're trying to stay focused and you want to be in the top 1% of people around the world that are able to focus and get things done, then you have to start cutting things out. You have to start taking social media out, notifications. You can turn all notifications off on your phone except for the critical ones. Maybe you have like one or two. Maybe your phone and your text messaging, those are really the only ones you need. And if somebody calls you and it's urgent, leave a voice message that says, if this is urgent, text me right away at the same number. And now they have to decide, is this urgent? And then, and then if it's not, you know what happens. But the thing is, you get to decide what you're going to put off and what you're going to pay attention to. And what you pay attention to is is what's causing your focus. Because attention is what you can control. You don't control time, but you control attention. And so if you're thinking that you are managing your time, think again. You're managing your attention with the time that you have. And as long as you keep focusing your attention on the things that you want, getting results, and you're getting feedback from the world around you and the people around you, and it's making you feel good, because when you feel good, those are the thoughts and words that are moving through your body. That's what feelings are. That's what Louise Hay taught us. And once you are feeling good, then you know you're moving in the right direction. But if you're not, and you're realizing there's a whole bunch of distractions, there's a whole bunch of things going on all the time, and you might be a parent like I am, and there can be tons of distractions. There can be problems all the time. There can be newly introduced issues and challenges and problems and emotional upheavals going on all the time. And those are the things that can distract you. But you can get control over those. And you need some systems to manage that. In business, what I teach people to have is standards for their team. So when they have standards for their team, guess what? Their team doesn't go around making mistakes all the time because they're more accountable. They're more responsible. They're being more responsible. They don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to show up at a team meeting and realize they made mistakes, because in this system, anybody on the team can call the other person out and say, you broke that code. You broke our code. We have, 10 codes here, and that was a code 8. And, you're not, you're not in line with our agreement here. And then the person has to own up to that. And then it's a team effort to solve it. But anybody who's causing constant problems will eventually leave. And that tightens your team. So it's a great way to get your business and your team focused, even in your family. You can do the same thing with your family. And if you have standards that they need to live by and you all agree on, then you're working together collectively instead of everybody doing whatever they think. And remember, I've said this before, when our emotions are high, our intelligence is low. So we don't make intelligent decisions when emotions are high. You know what it's like. Somebody's arguing with you, you get really upset and you start shouting. And once you're shouting, you are now in a heightened emotional state, and you are no longer thinking. Now you're reacting, because reacting is quite different from responding. Responding is with thought. You're consciously thinking, you're thinking about what you want, you're communicating that instead of reacting. Reacting is based on the past. It's based on what you know from your past experiences when you were a child. And so you go back to your past. Every time you react and you get emotional, that's your past. That's your childhood self coming out through your subconscious mind. And it's causing you to act and do things that probably aren't in your best interests. And they will feel bad afterwards. The other person will feel bad, you'll feel bad, but you'll both separate, because that's the three things. You have conflict, competition, and separation. Every time there's a conflict, you separate. That's what happens. You know what it's like. Two people fight, and then eventually they separate. They don't stay together. Even two ducks in a pond, two males, they'll come together, fight for the female, and eventually they leave. But you know what they do? Ducks are quite different. They go back into their own separate parts of the pond, they flap their wings, let go of the energy, and continue. Us humans, we hang on to it. We tell the story to everybody else. We get other people on our side. We want to justify it. We need to justify, and we need to be acknowledged. And that is going to cause a problem. Again, it's taking away your focus. is causing you to think about other things other than what you want, where you're going, and how you're feeling. And every time you get distracted and you let yourself get distracted, that becomes a pattern. And you can see your patterns of distraction after a while. And after you notice after you notice what's distracting you and what you're being distracted by, then you can start cutting those things out. You're going to have to. You're going to have to cut them out, or you're going to have to set up systems so that there's less interaction, less involvement with those people or those circumstances. That's what you have to do. And then once you get a little more control, then you keep your focus going, and you will start to see momentum build up with respect to your focus. And you can get control over this just by taking simple little things out of your life and your business, and keep it going on and then keep moving forward on a consistent basis. So just remember, focus is our highest IQ today. And if you want to have focus, do the things that I said today. Cut things out and start looking for your performance on a regular basis. Look at the things that are moving up. If you like this video, let me know. Subscribe, like, notify, hit the notification bell. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on my next video. Bye.